Hello, hello. How is everyone doing on this Friday night? I was trying to find a image for us to talk about, but we'll figure it out without it. I hope everybody had a good week. You have found yourself at the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer on this Friday Night Live. We're going to talk about general stuff tonight, whatever we want to get into. I got a couple things I want to kind of cover from last week, and I got some more pictures of different groups of Takara and Hasbro people. So I thought I'd go through that tonight. My name's Aaron Archer. I am a 30-year veteran of the toy design world. I spent 20 years at Hasbro and Kenner, working on Batman, G.I. Joe, Transformers specifically. And now I like to talk about what makes toys tick and why people get the types of items that they get, for good or bad, and why the industry thinks the way it does. And then a lot of the good old days. We talk about that too. So, welcome. How are you, Ninjatron? El Kevo, Cringe McCringle, how you doing? CD Freedom, T-Formers 2002, how's it going? Good group here already. Ninjatron, I'm going to see you in a month, I suppose, yeah? And T-Formers 2002, am I going to see you at BotCon? I will be at BotCon next weekend. Looking forward to that. But I will talk more about that in a little bit. If there's nothing... Yeah, Jiro is here. He is kind of needy tonight, so you guys might hear the purring. Sorry. Alright, that sounds good. T-Formers 2002. Let's see here. So I'm just going to get into it. Oh, good on you, El Kevo. That sounds like a nightmare, worrying about that. That's unfortunate, for sure. Alright, so I'm just going to get into it with some of these photos. And I wasn't able to also find... I have been tripping over my Takara business card holder, where I have all the Japanese business cards, going way back. I wanted to include that with this a little bit tonight too, but often, these are a few years in, so I don't exactly know from my files when this would have been exactly, but we're talking 2007 or 6, probably here. This is either a going away barbecue for me. So Takara was set up next to a elementary school and also a park, and that park had space that you could kind of secure or rent out for events or things like this barbecue. So we'd go over to the park and set up these burners, and meat came in, and different people had different roles, and just made a ton of skewers. And so if this wasn't like a going away party for me after I had been there for like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, this might have been a Hanami party. But by the way everybody is dressed, I don't know if this is a Hanami party, which would be early April. And the food was amazingly delicious. Really fun. We were drinking out of little kegs. Just a good old time. So from left to right, I'm going to try my best here. You got Ajima-san in the vest. Big E. You got Kobayashi, the next guy, I forget his name. Starts with an M. Miyayuki or something. I don't want to mispronounce it. Then in the back with the heart, that's Kobayashi-san. Then Yoke-san. Then the tall guy in the back, that's Takaya-san. Takaya-san did Cyber Girl and a lot of the doll things, but he also had other inventions. And if I remember correctly, it was his dream to live in a geodesic dome home someday. Then there's me in the middle. That's Okada-san in the red. He spoke very good English and was our the head of international marketing, or one of the guys responsible, I should say, for international marketing. And then the two ladies, I'm not recalling. The guy in the background, I'm not recalling. I forget the other gentleman next. And then that's Kunihiro-san, and then Hasui-san, kind of in the leather jacket. But yeah, the food was good. This was always a fun thing to do. So I got a few pictures from this. This is at Takara, and well, actually no, this was maybe in Rhode Island. In the one time I used this room, which was a part of the market research area. So that's Brian Chapman on the left, then me, Yoke-san, oh man, Mashimoto-san, I believe, Harada-san, Hira-san, and Joe Matico. Joe Matico was the first engineer that I worked with on Transformers. He had taken over for Jerry Palmer on Beast Wars. You'll notice there I'm still wearing my Batman belt buckle like a knob, probably 28. Anyway, here's another Hanami party. And you can see that Ajima-san is always wearing the vest. He carries his, I guess, important things in those pockets. You can see Okada-san in the back again. There's a lot of good guys here. Yoke-san on the far right. The tall gentleman next to me was a intern that Hasbro had that really wanted to intern at Takara. And Yoke-san and I wrote some letters and did some different things so that he had the ability to intern, because I think he was from the Bahamas. I could be wrong on that. I don't want to misstate. Anyway, so that was fun. But you can see this is that same little park, probably. I don't know if you could tell, but I could tell. That used to be my favorite t-shirt. All right, this is another reason I wanted those business cards, because I wanted to get everybody's name right. But this was definitely after I had been there for I think 3 weeks. It was really weird. There was one trip I took where I think I went a week before everybody. We did some design work and prep work. And then everybody showed up the following week to discuss how that would go and some business plans and adjustments and whatever that would come up. And then I stayed another week to address those needs. So this was the end of that long trip, and this was some of the people I was working with. Probably not rocking the Batman belt in this picture. Hey, Jack Windcharger, how are you? My haircut? Whose haircut? I'll tell you what, it is humid and hot in Japan in the summer. It was at different times. They're dealing with their own kind of climate changes. But one of the gifts I was given was a set of rolled handkerchiefs that you can use to wipe the sweat off your brow in a fashionable way. I still have a few of those around. Yeah, back when I had more exotic hair. This was Fort Wayne BotCon. From the left, that's Marcelo, and then Yoke-san, and then Greg Lombardo, who was the marketer through a lot of the BotCon era. We got Steve Naylor there in the middle. Next to me, in the back, that was someone that worked in convention planning for Hasbro, Terry. Paula's next to me. Pam, who was a marketer, and then Hasui on the end. And I believe Hasui was looking for Transformer Grails of his own at BotCon. So that's a fun little photo I found. And that was the statue that we had to almost die every time we put it together, took it apart, and had to put it in giant cases. But pretty cool giant version of the statue. Okay, and then I found a couple of convention shots. This is going back to probably the first TCOC, whatever, the Visual Transformers Collector Convention, whatever. Could have been that. I don't easily, people look familiar, but I don't recognize anybody in this shot per se. But this one, there's definitely a few people here I can recognize. Aaron there, sitting looking right at the camera next to, I think that's Elvin Pena. This was in the basement at one of the weird conventions, and those pillars were in the way. This might have been that OTFCC convention, actually. Maybe it's the same. Nah, I don't know. This might have. Unsure. So those are the photos I found of some of the group things. So this is, your back would be to the Takara area in this photo, and you're looking across the street to that park. And up on the left, there's a hill that would be the place where we have the barbecue. Funny times. Good people. They treated me very well. All right. So that was a lot of what I wanted to talk about. One other thing, if I can even find it again. All right, so we talked about this photo last week. And let's see here. I wonder if I can pull something off. What I want to try to do is show you how amazing that photo actually is. I tried to figure it out, and I did one way, but didn't seem to want to let me drop it. I'm trying something real quick. I did not buy any more blockies. I'm prepping for BotCon next weekend, so I've been drawing and packing and trying to get ahead of labeling and doing my pricing and take everything that makes sense. All right, here we go. Sorry, it's got to be a little boring maybe, but needs to be done. Needs to be done now. I don't know if that'll work. Ugh. Okay, so this photo is essentially being taken. That mountain is 2.5 hours away from where I'm taking the photo. And it is across the entirety of Tokyo, looking west-southwest. So that's what makes that photo, or that day that Yoke-san took me to the roof of Takara, so magical, because I suppose with just particulates in the air, pollution in general, urbanization and whatnot, seeing that mountain from so far away is rare these days. And so that's pretty special. When I did the map check, it was kind of wild to see how far that photo had been taken from. And to think why that mountain must dominate Japanese culture in the way that it does, because if you can see that today from a 2.5-hour car ride, that was a few days journey anyway by foot, no doubt. So you could see that thing from pretty far away, which must have made the importance of that mountain what it was and is, obviously. Pretty cool. So thanks for indulging me to try to find that information. Yeah, these old photos are fun. I got I got a lot of different things that just happen along the way, right? That you know, you don't think other people might be interested in seeing, but looking back, it's very documentary style. It's like what's on the table, what's in the background, who was there. So, all right. Last week we talked about the white robot here, big guy. So I pulled him off my shelf. You can already kind of tell. He's the one I mentioned is losing his white. I'm kind of under yellow light here, but his body's largely white, but the tops of his shoulders and torso has yellowed. This thing came out quite a while ago. I think Bandai might have made this. Yeah, Bandai did make it. 1999. Wow. But this is the thing that still is amazing. This is the same batteries that have been in here the whole time. This guy's pretty cool because he kind of has all kinds of little pull-out weapons and things. And there's a whole pilot in here in this chair. So that was cool. I bought that when it came out, and I was interested in the book as well. I actually have an original sketch of this character by Jeff Darrow. It was a cartoon for, I think, a season. It's very, Japanese Godzilla kind of thing. The comic book's a little bit more wild as far as just the art style and stuff, and kind of over the topness, but told in a comic style way, or old cartoon vernacular. But I like his texture, and Jeff Darrow. So this was a fun thing. So since we talked about that robot, I thought I'd bust that out to show. Yeah, I don't have too many Bandai toys, but that's definitely one of them, I guess. I don't have a frustration with Bandai like I do Mattel. But did you guys see the Transformers Zoids Diaclone mashup? That was pretty cool. They've been needing to do something with Zoids and Transformers since that company merged. So that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly kind of Astro Boy mixed with Gigantor, to your point. Absolutely. And if you're vibing with that style, then that's kind of cool, right? But it's kind of, then you go, oh, there's Gigantor and Astro Boy I could watch instead. And the concept kind of goes from there down. So, but I liked him. I still like him. I've always liked this guy. This guy's been in my office, since at least 99. One way or the other. Usually at work, he was there. Some of the other items that were familiar to people that were always in my office, like the upside down Spider-Man, I'd often have hanging, an old applause item. I gave a few of those things to friends and stuff when I left, so I don't have everything that I had in my office traditionally, but I got a lot of it. Yeah, I didn't understand the Diaclone connection entirely, but it's probably the way it moves or something, the transformability. Because it looked a little more complex than a normal Transformer. But I only watched the video twice, so I could be wrong. My toy store got the Red Alert and Wheeljack wave of product, so I've seen my Red Alert. Pulled it off to the side. I got to pick it up. So that was cool. Looks like they did a nice job with it. It's definitely Red Alert. So that's cool. If I don't find one at BotCon for some steal, but they're so brand new, I don't think I'm going to find a deal on that. And to that end, I will be at the BotCon next weekend. I'll be there Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Friday afternoon I'll get in, so I'll just be wandering around. So if you're coming, let me know. I know a few people that are going to be there. I'm going to probably hang out with Robbie Musso a little bit. I believe Joe Kide will be there. Hang out with him. Looking forward to it. I don't know anything about their exclusives and all that good stuff, but there's going to be great guests. And if you're into Transformers, there's always something to get, learn, add to a collection, start a new micro collection. Last year I really wanted to get an old time Vector Prime, which I did. I got to think about what I'm going to try to pick up this year from back in the day. Might be a Armada Skywarp if I can find one of those. That would be cool. But I haven't thought about it too much. I've been working to get my paintings sprayed so that I can take them and they're ready to go, and making as much art as possible. I got this stack of the books. So they've been going, but I've done so many of them that they keep piling up. So I'll have a ton of those. I like that one. Somebody had a question about the size of this book, or they weren't familiar with the cover, which I've painted on, so it's not the cover. We had this specialty printed for the conventions in 2004. So we probably took this to San Diego Comic-Con, BotCon, and if we were doing the New York Comic-Con, but maybe Chicago Comic-Con at that time. So we did a special run of printing where we put some behind-the-scenes artwork. That's all Eric's artwork. And we created a space for drawing or signing. I took this Japanese made comic to promote Wing Saber comboing with Optimus, and I had to figure out what the word balloons are. We got the files. The word balloons were already in the art, and I had to basically take this five-page comic and put the correct words in, or create a story to fit where the word balloons were, and not entirely. I didn't get a script for whatever reason necessarily from Takara to know what it was supposed to say, so no translation. And from what I've heard, I did a decent job of translating what the Japanese was, even though I didn't know what the story was. So that all that tells me is I knew the characters and their motivations, and or the pattern of the comic strip itself told the story like a good comic should do. You should be able to follow the flow of the action, like a volume on your TV off, without the words, if they're doing a competent job. So that all worked out. And then on the other side of this was the catalog of whatever the toy lines were at the time. Alternators, War for Cybertron stuff. We had this is the one place I think was publicly accessible, all the art we did to show the different combos that you could do. Well before we would have had models of all those combos. So that was cool. So it's printed a little bit bigger, and that's what it was. That's why this big version exists. So if you didn't go to the conventions back in 2004, many of you did not, you may not know this exists exactly, because it was basically very promotional and it was never in a product at all. So there you go. Little Transformers Unicron trilogy history there for you. So I'll have those at the BotCon. I have a few more of my Volume 2s, and I'll definitely have plenty of Volume 3s at the show. So, and I have them on my website as well. And this is the one I'm pretty close to being done with this one. I've been doing tighter and tighter work. I might not be able to tell necessarily, but maybe you can. What's happening there? So this is one of the ones I have to kind of spray. So just tidying all that stuff up. Hey Big'em, how are you? Yeah, the kicker. I like that kicker too. I'm starting to have more fun with. I'm starting to embrace some of these old designs and reinventing them in a little bit, or angling them, tougher, more modern. I don't know. Yeah, the Unicron needs a little bit more, huh, Wind Charger? Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I'm having fun with the planet things. I really get into it. It fits my kind of just my preference, my art style. So I enjoy getting into those planets for sure. What else is going on? Hope the weather's good there. You got to do a lot of walking across the street at BotCon, where it's held. The hotel's connected to a ballpark too, so that's kind of fun. You can go watch amateur baseball, or not amateur, but minor league baseball. And now that I did it last year, I kind of know where the places to eat are, and the flow of the city, because it is a Midwestern city. Sometimes different things close in different intervals than I might be used to. So, yeah, that 86 Megatron, the tank, yeah. Well, I love the robot. I mean, the whole point is so we can get a proper silhouetted robot, and that's what they figured out to make that happen. The tank looks very gray to me. I'm always sensitive to big blocks of color on those toys. I think you can see on a lot of the designs that maybe I was more involved with, a lot of cutting across the diagonal of the sides with either scoops or deco or graphics. So I don't know. It feels very gray to me, which makes it feel unfinished, or something. But this is why they pack them in robot mode now, because they'll put all the finish and details with paint, if that they want to, on the robot, and then when you transform it into the tank, well, it's going to be a little less than. That's kind of, that'll be kind of the feeling I have about it so far. Will you be continuing Patreon content after convention season? I imagine you've been too busy. Yeah, no, I'll definitely be doing more of this. I'm going through all my files and putting all this kind of stuff out there. And yeah, there'll be some stuff the Patreons get access to that I won't show other places, that's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a smaller show than the old BotCons, but it's in the spiritual home of BotCon in Fort Wayne. It's not too far for us Ohioans to get over there if we want to, and I'm hoping to see some good people. I hope that everybody's in good spirits and have a nice time. Yeah, it does have that bricky feel as well. But again, they put all their effort, I am sure. It looks like it's clear to make the robot look as G1-y as possible. And that's, I think, what the fans were hoping to get, or wanted to get. I got this complete 86 collection and I don't have the main villain. What the heck? Totally understandable. What I think, gun laws, again, being what gun laws are, there's no way around that it wasn't going to be the gun. There was no way around it. It was not going to be the gun. So, but to get that, when you line them all up on your shelf, now you have a proper Megatron to be fighting your Optimus. So, that's the clever kind of thinking and, logic trail you create for yourself to make it make sense. It sounds like that's what's happening. So we will get a good Megatron, at least if you like the robot, yeah. But anybody that was hoping for the gun, we've talked about it, but Protoman's talked about it on the TF Slag podcast. But when I dealt with it, and things definitely can change, but it was New Jersey and California, and I think it's also New York now, that have laws against importing certain type of replica or scale or replica colored weapons. So you can't even have a ray gun easily that looks like a gun. And if you can't, you're not going to control your inventory such that you're not sending it to certain states, So once certain states put in a law like that, then it kind of affects the whole country. All cars in America kind of fall within the California emission standards, because California at some point passed pretty severe emissions controls and different things that the car companies, and they sold so many cars in California that the car companies had to basically change their ways in order to ship to California, and that's what kind of happens. So that's why we don't have a toy gun that looks like a Walther PPK that can turn into our robot villain. But I think we live in a world where it is easier to get a real gun than a toy gun that looks like a real gun. I can say that without trying to be too political. And a toy gun actually doesn't go bang bang. But, you know, when you have fearful enforcement people who are always going to protect themselves first and foremost, you know, it's more about protecting the kids than anything. But them's the laws. You know, Cyberworld, to me, I don't know a lot about it, so I don't want to go too deep. But, you know, modern attention spans and partnerships and connectivity is so different that why not try a very quick hit, hopefully visceral, 5-minute shorts that tell a story and have a lot of fun. And if that acts as a quasi commercial as well for the people that want to know what's going on with the characters in any depth, you have the show, and then you could just use that footage as part of the check out these cool guys for the product commercials. Why not try it? You know, we are so fractured in our entertainment as far as where do you go, how do you watch things, how long do things need to be. You know, when they had us controlled by the hour, the half hour, the 15 minutes, you know, the 2 and 2 commercial break, you know, all of it made sense. Hey, we want this show to last this long for a whole season, you know, get us from fall to summer. And that's how you get 28 episodes or 23 episodes, and you know how it all flowed. That is all such broken down. People are on YouTube. You know, I watch TV through TV and through YouTube, practically. Whatever I want to investigate, right? So it makes sense that you wouldn't spend the money and the development time and everything to tell long, complex, character-driven stories these days, because that doesn't seem to be what's wanted by the consumer like yourselves most of the time, or the kid consumer also. That's not to say if they really went full bore and tried something that was, you know, a little bit more well written, you know, it couldn't also change the game. But they're going with this. Save them money. They can get a return on the investment quicker. Partner in a different way with a YouTube. We'll see how it goes. Wild King is the weird one, though. Is that the ones that have the things on their chest that look like leaves or comets, or I don't know what they're supposed to be, but those items look odd. I'm not gonna lie, they look odd. I don't even know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wild King is not for me exactly so far, just from the visual. And that's not the one that supports the Chinese show, I assume. It's a whole different thing. Very strange. Very strange. I see. So yeah, so they're doing the element thing, which is fine. Okay. Boy, planning those Chinese-based shows were always interesting. Always interesting. And were people able to get, I guess at this point you guys weren't able to get it because it's been a while, but do any of you have the Masterpiece Megatron that Takara did of the gun, but it's like kind of big, like almost ridiculously big? That one, I mean, obviously we couldn't get into the country too easily, so I'm not sure how many people even tried to get that one. Optimus Prime is becoming an airbender, basically. Okay. I hear that. I hear that. Is there a new modern toy line or company that you've admired recently? Like someone that values play for younger age range or collectability? No, I mean, and I'm not trying, I talk a lot about I come from the spring-loaded era of kid making toys, but I realize where we are. Kids aren't playing that way anymore. They got the magic finger with the devices younger and younger. So it makes sense that we are heading towards the collector world more so, So they're just changing out who the audience is, and that's why things like Star Wars Black and 6-inch Marvel and that kind of thing exist, as well as Hasbro Pulse and all that. So other companies, I like some of what 52 Toys does. Some of what Super 7 does, but the prices are tough. I've been enjoying looking at the He-Man animation figures. So if you guys are familiar with those, they are mostly redecos, some with some new parts of classic He-Man Mattel toys, but they are either decoed or come with elements, weapons, or gear, or maybe a different head sculpt to look more like what was in the actual animation. So they all have a pale color palette and a flat color palette that I just kind of like as a color palette. I don't like them because they're He-Man animation matchy, but I do like them for a vibe they give me. That Filmation did a really good job with that 80s color theory at the time. So I've been enjoying looking at those. I haven't purchased any because it's a slippery slope, right? And then my toy store did get the actual Turtles from the He-Man Turtles crossover. And those do look pretty good. I had been looking at the weird things that had come in, Man-at-Arms and a few others. So, they're fun, I guess. I'll rescind a little bit of my shit talking on those. Those are kind of fun. If you're into that body style, it's cool to have more options, right? I do believe that. So Mattel should, bring all their characters into that format. I've seen pictures of the Cringer turned into a He-Man kind of thing. That looked pretty cool to me. I doubt I'll ever find that. But I liked when they mixed and matched it with the wrestlers. So, we'll see what happens next. Oh, mostly new parts, huh? Oh, wow. That's wild. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, Ninjatron. I'll have to see if there's one that really jumps out at me. Like, would Supermode Armada Magnus have a different head sculpt from Prime? Maybe draws some inspiration from G1 Ultra Magnus. Probably. I never I mean, it was the nature of the item they had and they made. It made sense. But I'm more of a fan of when Ultra Magnus transforms, he just turns into Ultra Magnus. There's no white Optimus version or Convoy or whatever that's supposed to be. So there's not two outfits he has. In my mind, I kind of want him to convert right into, red, white, and blue, red, teal, and blue character version. So if I had done one in Armada, yeah, he would definitely had to have changed. I don't think I would have. I mean, we did do a white one at some point. I think that was an exclusive though. But I like the double stacks on his side of his head version. Imagine X does do some fun stuff. I mean, if I was a kid, I'd probably be into that. Let you world build, they got cars, they got little emplacements and bases and stuff. Well, the Stranger Things, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that monster looked great. Yeah, Universe Deluxe. Loving the Dark Horse stuff. Framing you. LOL. Big guy and Rusty. Yeah, and Hellboy to the left. Yeah, can definitely date me as a 90s guy. He-Man, Mattel in general doesn't, I mean, they're just starting to do it with He-Man, and it's so excruciatingly slow to watch from the pace that I am used to. Even it's been a long time, how we did it at Hasbro. Once we had a format, like a body format, like something that Master of the Universe has, we would have figured out ways to leverage that more often. He-Man, they started their, hey, we're back, and then now we're back with elbows. Okay, now we're back with mix mash with these wrestlers. Okay, that's cool. Now we're gonna do something different. It's like, now they're back with the old body style and doing cartoon accurate, and they added Sunman and trying to do the Stranger Things and the Turtle thing. So they're finally realizing that they have a format that you can apply all kinds of partnerships to. Same concept that Turtles had and Batman had and Transformers has had. And, so it's cool to see them doing that. Interesting to see what they'll do next. They just got the Batman license, so Batman in that style would be cool, Elseworlds, Batman and He-Man, Eternia world. Yeah, give it to me. Give it to me. Give them all to me. The whole Justice League shows up there. Okay, that's at least something different. Dark Star, yeah. So it's always cool when you see an old truck that looks like Optimus or Ultra Magnus. It's hard to see those Optimus trucks anymore. There's not a lot of flat front trucks on the road anymore. But definitely cool. Yang Ma, how are ya? Kang Ma. Toys Down Under, how's it going? Also, did you hear we're allegedly getting Armada Sideways next year? I've heard rumblings of that. That would be cool. That would be cool. Bigfoot Bodega, how are you? I'm almost. It's an embarrassment of riches at this point, fellas, and ladies, if you're here. When they did the Optimus and the Megatron, and they did such a good job, I was really like, wow, that's amazing. That's really cool that they did some of those guys. And they did Starscream. Wow, okay, and Hot Shot. Oh, wow, can't ask for more than that. That's great, And then they continue to do Override and now Sideways and Unicron, and Vector Prime and all these. So, Red Alert now. It's pretty cool. Like, if they do Sideways, I'm basically just saying we're missing Jetfire. I mean, you got the whole core lineup essentially. So it's an embarrassment of riches as far as that goes for me, and the types of things Eric and I did during the Unicron trilogy that it's pretty cool. I feel like the big things that are missing still, and we all think that there's a plan and we'll see what happens, but the minicons are essentially the only thing that's not really part of the element of anything yet. We got the one or two, obviously. Don't get me wrong. I can point them out, obviously, but and Tidal Wave. I forgot about Tidal Wave. Jeez, what an item! And the Metroplex. Jeez, Unicron Trilogy has had some big, high end and low end items, so it's getting spread out really well. So Jetfire is the one I guess is on my list now. They've been making so many of them, they're off my list. I used to say Vector Prime, and now we got him, and so Sideways, if he comes, then amazing. Spider Unicron. If I really wanted to lob a crazy one out there, Spider Unicron. I actually would like a Skywarp and Thundercracker, and that would probably be it. Okay, Toys Down Under. A while back, the current team said that they would get a figure made because the sprues were kept to a minimum. Yep. How much does gang molding multiple toys together help the bottom line? It's not seen anymore. Well, gang molding only helps if you are using the same conditions. And usually it means it's the same item, not multiple items. I think that's what you're asking. But you're increasing. You may not need that much capability. Ganging up the molds just means you're able to pump out more faster in a shorter amount of time. If you're suggesting why don't they do two different toys, multiple toys together, unless you'd want all your toys the same mold color, that would be the only way it worked, because it's not worth either blocking one side off or another, or just painting over the one color you don't need or as much. So that really wouldn't work. The way gang molding like that might work is something like Muscle Men, where you have 60 different unique categories or cavities, and one pressing and you get 60 different characters, but it's all the same color. That's one way. Hope I explained that well. Yeah, thrust could be cool. Be funny to see that orange Red Alert from Armada redone. There's a lot of strange redecos along the way we did. I still feel sheepish about some of them. Yeah, Takara could play with that a little bit. At the capacities and the output Hasbro would do, it would be tough to do two different toys in the same sprue, unless you were trying purposely to be like, oh, it's a feature type, and you're presenting it like, buy this one and this one, and they both have blue internal parts or something, so they look like they're buddies, and they maybe combine or something. But even that, you could just do two different sets of molds, because when you have anything in a combined mold, then you're signing yourself up essentially for two things. Either you're pumping out those toys at the same rate, so you better like those characters, because if you have one that's more popular than the other, you're still pumping out the same amount, and that means you're going to end up with a lot of ones that people don't want. So that could be an issue. The other issue is sometimes when you have a mold with two cavities, you hear the term, weld up the gates, so that you could pump hot plastic into half the mold, and there's gates to block it from the other half, so that you can do this one in red and then maybe this one in blue. But then you're spending time welding those other gates up so there's not mixture, so that's that takes time and money. So I don't know if that would really work. We talked a little bit about Cyberverse and Wild King, so check that out. Wild King, it's pretty interesting and wackadoo to me a little bit. I'm not sure. It feels like a series that Takara is making to appeal to kids in their market. I think that's the best way I could say it. I think you got forced into making all the 95 Cyberjets during the Universe 1 due to those toys having gang molding. At least that's what the wiki says. I don't remember as much on the Cyberjets. I know I did a few of them in mainline part of Car Robots, but I think we did exclusives too, and I may not have done those because I didn't do the laser rods that came out at KB, I think. Those were the motorcycles that had the lights and stuff in them, the light weapon. But I don't really recall having issues with gang molding ever with Takara. So either they told me that those parts would be the same across all of them, or it actually isn't accurate. I'm not sure. The Alien TV show trailer, teaser. I have not seen that. I will check it out. I did see the animated Predator cartoon, I guess. Cartoon's not the right word. Where and it's got the King Predator and stuff. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I love the Zoids, Shield, Liger, Optimus Prime. I've been waiting for them to do something with those two properties to put them together. Sunset Drifter. I think Zoids has a lot of potential. It's tough because it's a model kit brand in their eyes, but mechanical beasts with pilots and stuff is just cool, and has interesting potentials. Yeah, well, I didn't deal with them at BotCon and the Universe line. Yeah, other designers might have had to deal with that. Brian Parrish, perhaps. Um, Maybe Eric, but I don't remember much about that. Do you remember how you guys came up with the Knight Optimus Prime for Transformers Age of Extinction? Huh. Yeah, I do, and that will be a large feature of a future movie conversation, I'm sure, with Proto Man, but that was largely me uh, putting the Knight Optimus on a dragon Grimlock. Um, so, more to come in the future on that. That Predator Wolverine crossover is wild. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, Killer of Killers. That's the one where he goes. It's like going through different eras, and a samurai and a Viking and a World War II soldier fight different predators and get taken back to the home world after cryo freezing, and then they work together. Which, I'm up for it. We'll see what they do with it. Yeah. I agree. I think the Zoids crossover could be more ambitious. This is probably a taste test, Zoids certainly isn't as big, even within Japan, let alone the rest of the world, as, Transformers and Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, and, all the rest. So they're probably slow tipping it, probably helping by having Optimus connected to it. But it gives them permission to then draft off of it and go, oh, you remember this? This is more of that, or similar. So we'll see. There's a lot of cars they could do. I mean, they could do the James Bond, the Batmobiles, the A-Team vans. They've done the Ghostbusters and the and the DeLorean and the Knight Rider. So I'm sure they'll continue doing those odd things from time to time. I do really love the new Realized model series Takara's doing with Zoids. Yeah, I've seen some photos of those as well. Those do look pretty cool. Yeah, Mystery Machine. Why not? Turn it into the first villain. Do one of the scary monsters as the robot. That would be very cool. They even did the Top Gun jet. We never talk about the Top Gun jet. It kind of came in the middle of COVID, and that movie released a year later. It came and went, and no one ever talks about the Top Gun jet. But it's out there. It's also in that kind of Transformers meets continuity. If there was a Megatron Zoids Warder, yeah, probably a dinosaur. Yeah, probably. Probably. Yeah, the collabs are getting more broad, but that's what's happening. The market is fracturing, and they're trying to bring, hey, you got a fan base, we got a fan base. Let's make peanut butter and jelly taste good and see what happens. And everybody can feel like they're getting help from another. Yeah, there's not going to be a Dukes of Hazzard car, I'll tell you that right now. That isn't worth the hassle anywhere near. Yeah, that would be the problem. I'd want Megatron in Zoid's vernacular to probably be a big T-Rex like Beast Wars, but then you're going to run into Grimlock obvious comparisons or connectivity. So that is a tricky one. think, I mean, he could be kind of a mythological creature, perhaps, if they designed it well, like a, some sort of chimera or Cthulhu or different kind of dragon thing. Could be interesting. I'm not really on board with any of the crossovers, even for IPs I like. I think Snowcat hit different because it was more organic, not really a crossover, but a direct reference. You have a point. This was a conversation that I had with Takara when they were doing the Disney Transformers, when it was Mickey Optimus and Donald Duck Bumblebee. You always do run the risk in any partnerships of it should be two things helping each other out and not confusing the message of either. Okay, so it's kind of cool that this and this are together, but I don't really want to see that in one of their shows, or I don't want to read a comic book with that, because it how the hell does Batman meet Optimus Prime? Like stuff like that. It gets very convoluted, right? When you think of like some of the stuff IDW tried to do with the Transformers meets Star Trek meets Ghostbusters. It's just like I don't need the logic trail to figure that out just to see these characters next to each other. But I digress. The other thing you run, if you don't do the partnership well, one is really taking advantage of the other. Or getting much more lift, I guess, than the other, and therefore, why do you need the partnership in the first place? Because it depends on your logic trail as well. If you believe that these transforming entities have come from Cybertron and they're fighting a serious battle of philosophy and they have done what they've done, then that's the story you're into. And all of a sudden, there's Knight Rider, and they don't fit into that story. So are they belittling the story I like? Really what it is taking advantage of the toy side of the opportunity. Oh, you don't want to watch a bunch of weird cartoons, but you love Knight Rider? Hey, we got a Knight Rider toy for you. That's really how it's looked at. But if you're a hardcore story person, which maybe you are, that could be a problem. I also talk about, we got pitched a lot of different comic partnerships and crossovers, and one that got pitched at one point was Robotech. Yeah, Robotech, which I like Robotech fine, obviously, and Macross and stuff, but at the time, nothing was happening with Robotech, and Transformers was on the ascendancy. Movie 1 was just coming out, or had just come out. Movie 2 was greenlit. Animated was fun. A new studio was on its way. It was like not the right time to maybe put shine on a potentially competitive robot brand from Japan. So if it doesn't make sense for your business too, you just don't want to, hey, it'd be cool if we partnered, So that's one where I remember where we didn't partner. Then they partnered with DC and did the JLA crossover, and then Hasbro made a big deal with Marvel, and all of a sudden the Hasbro Marvel team were upset that we had a DC crossover because it embarrassed them that we were working with essentially our competitors, how they thought of it. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but too late. That deal was already done. Shredhead. I don't know if I know Shredhead. They might be doing a Macross collab now, but this was for a comic book. It was a storyline and everything of the Robotech and Transformers coming together, which sounds really cool. Don't get me wrong. Could be interesting. Could have been a something, but at the time, strategically within the corporation, that wasn't the right thing for Transformers to be pulling people to. There were other things to pull people towards that we needed them to be doing. And all this stuff is strategic. It's all a plan. They're just not making comics just to make comics. You really do have to, who are you trying to talk to? What are you trying to say to people? What do they want? What promotes activity for us and vice versa? So that is one of the reasons that happened. Where do you think Hasbro stands with the kids market now? Korea's metal cardbot is going international. It's very Unicron trilogy-esque. I don't know. I've kind of been disillusioned so much with Hasbro lately that I haven't been paying totally attention to the wider Hasbro beyond what's going on with Transformers a little bit and Hasbro Pulse probably. Toys Down Under. So, and I don't know the Metal Cardbot property, so I'll check that out. When are we getting the next episode of the Cardcast? Starting for some Energon. Yeah, we have been talking about it. I work at the time that we used to record now in the mornings, and that's been tricky. And now that the phone service we had been using has been shut off, we got to figure that out. Got to figure it out. From the Skybound Comics. Okay. You haven't seen that one yet? No, I haven't really checked out the comic at all. I'm happy it's doing well, but I don't consume entertainment that way anymore overall. And even when I buy Hellboy comics, it's not like I'm always reading them. So all right. Dark Star, I'll check that out. All right, well, I've been rambling for almost an hour and a half. Definitely check out the websites to learn more about my art and what's going on with me at the different shows this summer. I'll be at BotCon next weekend. I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And a month after that, I will be at TFCon Toronto. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Assuming I can get across the border. So those are the two big conventions I'm doing this year. I haven't finalized Chicago yet. We'll see what's going on. I'm living here in Ohio again, taking care of this house until some market things can change and we finish up some projects here that need to get done so we can try to sell it, and maybe I'll be moving back to Rhode Island, and or we'll see. If I get a different job, then that could be changed too. So yeah, it's going to be another minute before we're in DC or Baltimore or place like that. So Ninjatron, T-Formers 2002, Windcharger, Big'em, Cringe McCringle, Dark Star, Big Bot Bodega, Sunset Drifter. Good questions today. I appreciate you. El Kevo. I think I got everybody. Good dialogue today. So I'm glad you like the pictures. I'll try to find some more. And with that, I think we're going to call it a night. All right, everybody. So thanks for being here. And I will see you again, not next week because I'll be at BotCon, but I'll definitely do a download after BotCon the following week for everybody. What I picked up, any trades I made, stories of hanging with Robbie and Joe and whomever else. So looking forward to it. All right, everybody. We'll catch you soon.